baseball, not always the best team wins, but you got to still go out there and get it done.
Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of Baseball Talk right here on YBM. We appreciate you joining with us. And, if you want to learn a little bit more about Youth Baseball Midwest, you can go to our website. As you can see, our whole focus is to develop is about values, perspective, and developing these things within the community. That's the question. How do we keep our youth sports in perspective? And I think that's a big task right now, keeping the values of life lessons. Many of these young athletes are going to return right here in these communities they grew up in, where they played baseball. They're going to work. They're going to start families. They're going to train up the next generation of baseball players. So how do we create the best quality situation? And that's our goal. And that's what Youth Baseball Midwest works to be part of as this process continues here with Baseball Talk and all of our other podcasts and live streams and everything that we do to develop a healthy environment to build a strong community. And that's the goal. That's the way it should be. So as you can see, our website are fantastic partners. Can't do this without our partners here like Game 7 Baseball, Prime Sports. You can see LPA, Sports Barn, Premier Pitching, Hitting Zone, Scout Connect, Dinger Bats, everybody. And, of course, St. Louis Youth Sports Outreach, Billy Mayhall. We're going to be there again for the Cops versus Kids, the Jordan Morgan Memorial Foundation. If you want, you can go and you can help with these. Give, donate. Jordan Morgan Foundation. They got the golf tournament coming up. There it is. I knew that. St. Louis Youth Sports Outreach, all kinds of stuff. Cops versus Kids, as I was said. We got some cool stuff coming up here, folks. And, of course, our good friends over at Kilo Gear. And that's what I want to talk a little bit here. We just started. We got our Kilo Gear page with Youth Baseball Midwest. Doctor designed microwaved apparel meant to be worn during normal practice conditioning, pregame protocols. It turns every rep into a strength-building moment. Athletes see measurable gains in speed, strength, and recovery within weeks. Train smarter, built for athletes, coach approved. I'm wearing it. You can see I'm wearing it out with just going through my normal day, my normal routine. If that's what you need to do it, because it's helped me. Burns more calories. I'm losing weight. I'm losing belt sizes, and I'm feeling better in everything that I'm doing. So, but if you're an athlete, which is this built for, I'll tell you what, you can see it within 4 to 6 weeks of consistent training, 30% faster measurable speed gains across all major movement patterns. You've got 25% stronger increased explosive power and force production. You got 15% better recovery, faster bounce back between training sessions. And you got some starter kits here. Kilo Gear Catcher Performance Kit. You got the Kilo Gear Baseball Speed Kit. You got the Kilo Gear Baseball Throwing Velocity Kit. All designed to help you get the results and lessen the stress on your joints. And I think that's what everybody's looking for. Staying healthy. So go check that out, Youth Baseball Midwest. Click on the Kilo Gear tab. Use the promo code YBM10 to get 10% off your purchase. Appreciate it. And today we're going to start with the Missouri High School Baseball Coaches Association all-state teams. Got Kevin Moulder joining us for Class 5 and 6. So let's get into it. All right, joining us now is Mr. Kevin Moulder from Prep Baseball. Kevin, good to see you, buddy.
Great to see you.
Absolutely. We've got Class 5 here. The all-state teams wanted to get you in and start breaking this down a little bit and see what you think of the lists, your thoughts on some of these players, and we'll move through it.
Let's have some fun.
Absolutely. Starting with Class 5, I don't think there's any way to argue this list. First team pitchers.
A lot of talent a lot of talent up here, and you go through this, and there's so many deserving names and so many great seasons. I think it's one of those things where you almost can't go wrong. But if there's some serious star power there with Levi Hilton, Noah Price, Chapman Ogles, Henry Bertonson, and Jackson Smith. I was able to see 4 of those 5 this spring in person at high school. Obviously Levi Hilton, fresh off the state championship, so well deserved, and makes sense that they would have some representation. Quickly catching my eye that all of those guys are seniors, so we're going to be moving on from these guys, but awesome to see. Jackson Smith, of course, the lefty out of Festus that's heading to Michigan, had a great year for Festus. And Henry Bertonson is one of the guys that I would kind of call a helium guy. He took a big jump over the past 18 months or so, and turned into a low 90s arm over at St. Pius. And then Noah Price, St. Dominic's, ended up with a really strong finish and a great season, making it all the way to the Class 5 championship game. So well-deserving list right here for this first team Class 5 pitchers.
Yeah, I saw Noah twice. We saw him against Vianney. I don't think he had his best stuff. Even he talked about it, and he still pitched. He still did pretty well against Vianney. Then in the championships, he was pretty good there.
I was going to say, to cut you off, that's how you end up being on the first team. If you, like, the days when you don't have your good stuff, and let's just say you see him, and you still walk away thinking, yeah, that kid pitched pretty good. Like, that's the sign of a first team All-State guy, is like the day you don't, because no one's going to have their stuff,
right,
every single outing. And the guys that can get through and, throw 6 innings and only give up 3 or 4 runs on the day they don't have their good stuff, that's the sign of a really good pitcher. And then you're going to have your fun when you have your stuff, and you can go a complete game shutout, or complete game 1 run and strike out 8-9 guys. But that's pretty mature, probably, of Noah on the mound there.
The other young man, Chapman Ogles, he's going to Jeffco. We saw him early in the season when we went down, went to Cape. Great venue. Appreciate Coach Williams down there for his hospitality. And they were playing Farmington, and Ogles went complete game. I think it was a 1 or 2 hitter, struck out 13 from the left side. Good firm fastball. So I'll be interested in see what he does when he gets to Jeffco and starts putting a little more weight on that frame of his, gets stronger, Kevin.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Jeffco has a pretty long history of taking guys down from that way in the Cape area that, I want to say under the radar, because he was just a first-team All-State guy, but maybe a little bit off the beaten path, and
right,
maybe didn't get the same amount of exposure as some of the other guys. And often you look up 2 years later, and that kid's signed or committed at a pretty nice big school, and you're like, where did this kid come from? Well, came from Cape Central, and he was a first-team All-State guy out of high school.
Right, there you go. Exactly. Second team, honorable mention, some of the names that stand out to you here.
Well, Mason Young, that's the first kid that comes on the list. He's the first non-senior on the list. and just saw Mason Young at the Missouri State games in Columbia last week. And this is a talented young man. Tall right-hander, pitches in the upper 80s. Webb City, Brian, is a team we've been talking about really all season. And, to be real honest, we don't see Webb City, once a week or anything, doing the show where we do it. So you knew they had some ability, and I get a chance to see Mason Young, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense why Webb City's winning a lot of ball games. 6'4" right-hander, has the ability to run it up close to 90, high pitch ability. There's a lot of talent there. Mason Young is going to be, I believe, heavily recruited this summer, and he's one of these guys, the only guy on this first or second team list that we're going to be able to follow again next year.
There you go. Coronado, the next junior there, St. Dominic, saw him pitch at the state championships. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, obviously you don't make it to the Final Four with just one pitcher, and St. Dominic is the only team on the list that has 2 first-team all pitchers. Now, I might need a little grace on that comment because Brendan McLaughlin won Player of the Year in his on first team as an infielder, and we both know that he was obviously a pitcher as well, and it's just kind of where you sort and where you end up throwing all these kids. So on a technicality, that's a true statement, I guess. Brendan McLaughlin, though, in my book, would be a first-team All-State pitcher as well. But right. St. Dominic with 2, a first-teamer and a second-teamer, I think that's well-deserving. They make the championship game. That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. You got and the other junior there, Brody Cook from Summit Christian. I'm interested. I don't know much about the young man, but I think it'll be interesting to see how Summit Christian comes back because they've got the other 2 junior. He'll be a junior in Keelan Zumwalt, right?
He was on the honorable mention list. Brody Cook there, and Summit Christian had a really strong season. They were one of the groups that we talked about and known for their offense. Well, Brody was doing the work on the mound for them. So, and that's one of the few underclassmen, non-seniors on the list. So, looking forward to seeing Coronado, Mason Young, and Brody Cook returning for their senior years next year. And those schools will have a leg up with all state guys coming back.
Agreed. We're looking at this. It's very senior dominant on the pitching side, so we're going to see a lot of new guys. It'll be interesting to see how that works out in the coming year, Kevin.
Yes.
Catchers, Mason Williams, senior, Jarrett McGee, both guys. Jarrett McGee going to Mo Southern. I'm not quite sure where Mason Williams is going, but 2 dudes.
Yeah, start with Jarrett McGee, senior going to Mo Southern, and they're coming off a state championship. And I remember Jarrett making a huge impact. I believe that was his sophomore year. Had a game-winning hit for Willard down at the Final Four. Do you remember that one, Brian?
Yeah, I do.
Kind of getting onto the scene. And then just kind of evolving into the player that he became. He ended up being kind of the focal point of that Willard offense, and obviously, unofficial, or maybe wasn't official captain, but with the playing behind the plate there and hitting towards the top of the lineup for Willard, and was a huge impact player for Willard. And then, we, again, same comment about Mason Young to Mason Williams. Webb City, one of the stronger Class 5 teams in the state, and well deserved for Mason Williams. A lot of talent there on that Webb City team. Webb City was one of those teams that was just, you watch them play, and you're like, wow, this is a great team collectively. And it's nice to see some of their individuals get some attention because I did think that was one of the best true teams in the state, regardless of class.
I agree. We had them number 1 going into the end of the season, and it was Willard at 2. And I think, when they played in that district championship, I thought, wow, that to me was the clear favorite going into the Final Four. That's just was what I saw, and it showed because Willard did take the championship.
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past, where sometimes some of the best teams get stacked up in the same district, and one of these teams is going home, and they might be the second best team in the state. So we've talked about that a number of times, and just kind of how it falls. So but nonetheless, great year for Webb City, and a couple guys on the second team there.
Yep.
Cannon Crooks, Warrensburg had a phenomenal year. Cannon Crooks heading to Central Missouri. Cannon's a big physical kid, can swing the bat. So looking forward to following him at Central Missouri. And then Mason Jones over at Smithville. Smithville, maybe not quite as strong this year, Brian, but Mason had a great high school career. And some of those Smithville teams over the last specifically 3 years, I think last year they were extremely strong.
30 wins.
I'm sorry?
They had 30 wins.
Yeah. So really strong showing and a great career, not only senior season there for Mason Jones.
Infield, and there, as we talked about, Mr. Brennan McLaughlin at Platte County, and I want to give a shout out real quick. One of the nicest young men you'll ever meet. Family, just really nice people. And it shows how he plays, how he handles himself. He is a very, I think this young man's going to do a lot as he moves forward. I think he has a great upside that way, Kevin.
Yes, and he was your player of the year in Class 5. And we just kind of mentioned how he, not only on the infield, I think what separates him for the player of the year award, from some of these other great names is, in my opinion, Brennan could have been on there as a pitcher. If he didn't hit at all, he would probably be a first-team All-Stater there. If he didn't pitch, he's clearly a first-team infielder. You combine those, and that's what gets him the award of Player of the Year. So I think that's well-deserving, well done there by the coaches. Brooks Zumwalt is, probably the most talented or one of the more talented players we're going to talk about heading to Pitt. Can really swing the bat, super physical kid. Wyatt Schneider, great career over at Summit. I had a great senior season. I'd also look at this as just a great career over at Summit, and also created a big impact for him on the mound. Yeah. I think this award's going to him as an infielder, clearly, but he more than contributed on the mound there for Summit. And Wyatt's heading to Mo Southern as well. Anthony Wolstadter. Chaminade, what a great run for Chaminade, by the way.
They came out of nowhere.
He was certainly leading the charge, one of the guys leading the charge there. And then we've talked about St. Dominic's in the final, but Cooper Montgomery was kind of the linchpin of that offense. Yeah. Big-time left-handed bat heading to Moberly Community College.
Kevin, I think I'd take that infield and go play anywhere.
Yeah, you'd take your chances, wouldn't you?
I think I would.
A couple of those guys can help you on the mound too, and you can just, one inning you're going to play third, the next inning you're going to play short, the other inning you're going to play second.
It's
Brooks over at first. Yeah.
And another, you see, I think this is what's interesting in the top of this. It's very senior heavy. You can see a lot of these kids have been very productive throughout their career, starting early. And we're seeing this generation really kind of move on. So I think this is a very big transition year in Class 5, and we're going to see who's going to step up next, who are the next guys. I think that's a real part of this right here, Kevin.
I hadn't really thought of the reason why, but I did notice that Class 5 seems stronger than normal this year.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at this all-state team, you understand why. Obviously, next year there'll be an all-state team, and last year there was an all-state team. But this year, it's a lot of seniors. And
Yes.
I think that was a major contributing factor onto why Class 5 was as strong as it was this season. And going on to the second team and talking about the only kid on the list that wasn't a senior, Beckett Hall from Platte County is one of the players that really caught my eye this spring. First at the Columbia tournament. Beckett Hall is going to be a name that we're going to be talking about over the next couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Left-handed hitter, played second base for them. Obviously had McLaughlin at shortstop, but was a table setter over there at Platte County, can really swing the bat. I think Beckett Hall is going to be a kid that is going to be fairly heavily recruited over the next couple of years out of Platte County.
We got to see him against Staley, and went over and was watching the kids in the cage before the game getting some BP. For a sophomore, I was looked at and go, my gosh, that's a big kid.
Yeah.
Standing next to him all of a sudden, because you see distance, you think and whatnot, you walk over and, he does his business very well. You watch guys in a cage, you see a lot of guys that walk in, they get in there, they swing the bat. You can see a lot of purpose in what he was doing, intent, how he said about that. When you go in the cage, I think it's different than people think. How do you translate what you're doing in the cage to the game? And I think it's a matter of purpose and intent when you're in the cage.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow,
This second team's a great list. Carter Jeffries, of course, heading to Xavier, part of that vaulted Summit Christian offense.
Yeah.
Carter Hankey over at Father Tilton Catholic, and Carson Adams down at Marshfield. Marshfield is a team, Brian, we've talked about for the past couple of years, and good to see them getting some recognition here with Carson making the ball club.
Absolutely. Kevin, I'd take this infield and go play anywhere.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking at the honorable mention list, and I'm like, holy smokes, the honorable mention team. Honest to God, and this is the first teamers are all deserving. If you would have told me this honorable mention team was first team, I would have believed you.
Right.
And the first team, well deserving, and should be the first team guys. That's
sure.
Nothing separate comment here. But yeah, like Henry Laudenberger, I saw that guy on an absolute heater the last couple weeks of the season. I think I saw him hit 4 home runs in a 2-week span, 3 at Chaminade in the postseason, then another one at the Missouri State games. He was actually our Missouri State games MVP. He hit one over at Mizzou, so on a college field. And then during the playoffs, we talked about Wolstadler for the entire year. I think Laudenberger just went off in the postseason and was a force. And helped carry Chaminade to the Final Four. Jackson Cherniewski for St. Dominic, another sophomore on the list. So fun to highlight the young guys, because that's a name that people need to file away in the memory book and bank and have for the next couple of years. We expect to see a lot out of him.
Alex Barron.
Yes. Yeah. Great year. Another guy that's going to have another year left. Cade Hayter, well-deserved. Obviously, starting shortstop on the state champion team at Willard. Hunter Fryman from heading to Xavier. Davidson had a great year over at Marshfield. So a lot of talent.
A lot. Unbelievable, man. We saw Carter Hankey at the All-Star game, and it's at Columbia. And folks, you go to your normal high school field, it's anywhere from 365 to 385 at center. You get, sometimes 345 in the alleys, 310 maybe deep for a corner, 300 usually, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
That's about it. Well, Rockbridge is not that. Rockbridge is a big boy park.
That's a pro-sized park.
Yeah. And Hankey destroyed a baseball, and he didn't just destroy it off anybody. He destroyed it off Wyatt Taylor. No offense to Wyatt. Wyatt's a great pitcher. But my goodness, that kid can swing it. And I hadn't really seen him play much before, Kevin, and wow. He looked good.
Yeah, that's impressive. Rockbridge is a big yard, and so anyone that runs it out of there is doing something.
Yeah. Outfield. Let's get to it. First team, a couple of juniors jumping here, and the one that really I've seen a lot of and I think is impressive was Jackson Red. He's an undersized guy, but unbelievable speed, gets to everything, and just hits a ton, Kevin.
Yeah, he does. And that Willard offense was a fun one to watch, especially the top part of the lineup. And Jackson was a huge part of that. Really good player. And, this is the first section where we come to where there's something other than a senior on the first team. So Jackson Red and Case Steinbach for Marshfield, and Marshfield's throwing in all sorts of names now. So it's a couple of junior first teamers that are going to be back next season. So that's going to be fun to keep an eye on.
Caden Dingus, AJ Flam moving on. Both are going off to play some ball. Caden Dingus had a really good career. He was part of that group for I think 3 years, wasn't he, on the varsity side?
At least 3. And Caden started off as an infielder, then moved out to center field. Caden's a really good athlete, heading to Jeffco. So well-deserved honor, and another guy that just had a great high school career.
Another young man want to shout out here to Jathan Spain from Cape Central. And I remember when I saw him and I said something to you, and he's going to SEMO, folks, to play football. And when you see him, he is a tight end.
Jathan is a name I've known since 8th grade. He came with us to the Future Games, was at one point a big-time baseball recruit, and then kind of settled more into the football side of things. We've seen that before. Rocco Marriott comes to mind, but Jathan, just chose to go a different direction for beyond high school. But it's great to see guys like this finish out their high school season or career and go out on a good note. Jathan is a super talented player, though, and I'm sure we'll be doing big things on the football field for SEMO.
A couple of names, too, here senior-wise. Cooper Scott from Hannibal had a great career up at Hannibal. I know he didn't probably get as much pub. And then I hadn't heard of I know I'm going to mispronounce his name, but Colton Kossuth. And we've seen him. He's playing for Eureka, actually, in the American Legion.
For Legion?
Yeah. This kid can swing it.
He can really swing it. And
it looks like Brock Mason from Summit Christian, the sophomore. I think Summit Christian's going to be pretty fine, Kevin.
Yeah, I think they're going to be in good shape again next year. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. We're well aware of them. We've talked about them at length. I think that offense is going to keep humming next season.
And then an honorable mention.
In Colton, I just want to give Kossoff a shout out. I was looking something up. Finished the season with 13 bombs. So that did not lead the state, but he would have been on the leaderboard.
Yes, indeed.
In fact, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, you had 13 bombs. That I feel like should be able to squeeze onto the first team all state here.
There you go. Maybe a slight snub. There you go. We're not going to get into that though. Hey, one of the names here had put up just video game numbers this year. Jace Mayberry over at Melville. And then Trevor Laughlin, Jace Badkey, another Marshfield. There's Marshfield again. That's why they went to the Final Four 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I've seen Marshfield on here, I think, more than any other school.
It's a few times, dude. It's a few times. Webb City. But, and Samuel Risen Bickler, I would imagine. Winnetonka. Over on the Kansas City side. Winnetonka getting some love. I love that, man. They had a good season, though. They had 20-some wins.
Did, yes.
And so impressive. So that's the outfielders. DH utility first team, the sophomore Keelan Zumwalt, the junior Beckett York, and then another Winnetonka. We met Dylan Kroll, got a chance to talk to him at the All-Star games. Senior. He's the only senior on the first team there that was with the DH utility. And, folks, what this means is they just kind of do everything. And it's when you have a guy that good that kind of is – this is kind of where it ends up. And I think Keelan even did some pitching, didn't he, Kevin?
Yeah, Keelan's a very talented pitcher. Now, got shut down towards the end of the year. But, yeah, that's a mid to upper 80s left-handed, 6'5", left-handed pitcher as well. Obviously known for his bat. In Keelan's, in terms of talent and projection and where guys are going to move on, is probably the top prospect. Not probably. He is the top prospect on this list in terms of, MLB interest and whatnot, and yet just a sophomore. So he's going to be a name that's going to be heavily scouted and one that's going to come up often over the next couple of years at Summit Christian.
So if you had a top five, and I know in your mind you've probably got 5 guys that you'd say at the top of Missouri, would Zumwalt be one of those kids?
For what?
Hitting.
Yeah, I would have him number 1 in terms of being a prospect.
Wow. Who would
counting
be
the
2?
Seniors? Wow, now you're putting me on the spot.
I'll let you think about that.
Yeah.
We'll do
just
that another time.
Snap, quick decision. I would say Brady Yates.
That's a pretty good snap.
And Ben Delic. And Ben Delic would also be right there. So I'm going with a junior, a sophomore, and a freshman.
Wow.
I'm talking about long-term projection. And
I know you are.
Yeah.
I get it. See, folks, you have to understand where Kevin's coming from. This is what he does for a living. He projects players, and when he's talking about this, he's looking at their future and understanding it. I always want to qualify that because I don't think people go, well, what about this guy? You have to understand where the man is coming from. Correct?
You don't have to understand where I'm coming from.
Yes, you do. Sure you do. Second team, Cooper, I'd say that's Vettis, Carl Junction. Here's one I love. Somewhat the East jump, but Kevin Morgan, he had a big year. I think he made a big jump from his sophomore to his junior year. And with him and Pandolfo stays healthy with East, I think they're going to be a pretty powerful 1-2 punch next year.
Absolutely, yeah. That'll be a dynamic junior duo that'll be seniors next year coming back for Zumwalt East.
Yeah. Yep. So kudos there. Henry Vetter got the utility honorable mention. Where's he headed to, Kevin?
He is now heading to Grand Canyon. He was originally committed to Jacksonville State University. Now he's heading to Grand Canyon University. One other, Deacon Endicott, going to Pitt State, had a great season. But Matthew Burns, wanted to get him a shout out from Willard, was on the hill for the state championship game. He's a true two-way guy, hit right in the middle of the lineup. Was right in the middle of some big innings for him at the plate, and then upper 80s, it was sad 87, 89 during that state championship game, and gave Willard a great start in that ball game.
They're going to be just fine. You got Red and Burns coming back, new coach. I think Willard's going to be just fine.
Yes, they will.
Right back in there. And, of course, as we said, the player of the year, well-deserved, Brennan McLaughlin from Platte County in his career. Kudos to him. And all these young men who are moving on, wish them success. So, Class 6, Kevin, first-team pitcher again. Look across this board. And I think this was the thing that really stood out to me in Class 5 and 6. Is it was so senior heavy. We're moving into a pretty new direction here. You got seniors at the top 4 in Wyatt Taylor, Landon Schreifels, Danny Bergner, Brody Wilson, then second team Brennan Pyle, Brecken Green, Joplin, Drew Parsons, Jackson, Luke Bear, Ozark, Bryce Meyer from Green Valley, Ben Theroff, Vianney, Micah MacArthur, Hickman, met him at the All-Star game. Josh Marsh, Rockbridge, met him at the All-Star game. I'd take that. I would take that pitching staff.
You could win some games with this. Wow, though, that is eye-opening. All seniors out of the pitching, so there's going to be some new blood in here next year. But all these guys are certainly well-deserved honors, and all these guys. Wyatt Taylor, obviously they won the state championship. Schreifels over at Staley, they right there, and that's a tough district, and had a great season. And Danny Bergner, maybe I don't want to say surprise, but really came into his own this year, and had a huge reason why CBC made it all the way to the championship. He was phenomenal in the semifinal game for CBC, and a huge piece in reason why they made the run that they made. And then Brody Wilson, of course, the super talented guy. I'm looking forward to following him over at Missouri State next year, and I think Brody's going to have a lot of success down there at Missouri State.
I like the fact that he's staying home. I love that,
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot, especially these young guys. I mean, you start traveling, getting away from home, you get into situations. It's hard, man. You especially with some of these kids that have never been away from that, it's different, and especially under a big-time pressure of a Division I program, Kevin.
Absolutely, and Drew Parsons is doing the same thing, Jackson High School, and he's heading to SEMO. So a couple guys doing something very similar, and I agree with you. I do like it when guys stay in the state, and it is fun to follow. Makes it a little easier to follow their careers, get to some ball games, etc. So those will be, we're rooting for them all, but those are two guys that we'll be able to root for real easily because of their proximity.
Absolutely. Catchers, got a lot of catchers here. First team, I think that's a no-brainer, personally. I hadn't seen a guy hit. He's got to be in your top 5, Kevin.
I'm sorry?
He's got to be in your top 5.
Kendall can really swing the bat. I've known Kendall for a long time. I coached his older brother, Nick, who is a great player in his own right, and Kendall is an absolute stud. And he was on our finalist for Player of the Year, and anyone that was a finalist, in my opinion, could have easily won the thing. But
Yeah.
I believe career record for extra base hits in the state senior season for Kendall Hagedorn. I think it was 33 extra base hits, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So monster year, one of the top bats in the state, and heading to Illinois State. So looking forward to following Kendall.
It's just curious to me. Riley Mills got drafted last year out of Oran. Is there a lot of comparison between those two?
No, they're different type guys. Yeah, I understand where you're going with that.
Yeah.
But no, there's some differences in type of players they are, and even Tool Rylan, also known for his throwing arm, and not that Kendall doesn't throw good. Just
no, I understand.
There's
just curious
differences between the two.
And it's hard sometimes because people, when we talk about, and I ask these questions, I think it's very important for people to understand when questions are asked, this isn't a matter of putting down somebody else. It's a matter of how you see where these guys go, how they do, because I think there's such a fine margin of separation from that level to guys that are just below, still working, still going. It's not that you can't get there. It's just what it is. And have to understand, we have to understand. I believe we do, because I think this is where people get caught up in missing things and think sometimes maybe we're better than we think we are.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. There's a difference between good numbers and major league projection, and they're two different things. With that being said, the young man we were talking about, Kendall Hagedorn, could very well turn himself into a professional hitter. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying there was a difference, between being a high school draft pick and like
a college
Rylan
commit,
was.
a Division I commit.
Yeah, exactly.
You still got some work to do and put yourself in that place, and that's okay. That's here's one though that really stood out to me. I'm sorry, Logan McFerrin, Blue Springs South state champion, Clint Olson, Ray Peck, senior. But the one that stands out to me is in the second team, Kevin, and that is Eli Miller, who hadn't caught since I think like the 8th grade. He told me. They lose their catcher, and he goes, "Okay, I'll do it, coach," and gets in there behind the plate and is second team All-State.
That is really cool story. And out of all these guys on this list of the catching position, I think before the season, nothing was for sure, but we could have seen a scenario where, oh yeah, okay, you tell me Kendall Hagedorn is going to be first team All-State, I'll believe that. Andrew Maltzby, first team or second team, or Ryan Caffey, I could see that. No one would have guessed that about Eli Miller. So that's awesome, being a great teammate, jumping back there in a position of need. And, Hal had some really good arms. So that was a phenomenal job by Eli Miller, and love to see. That's a fun one. They're all great that they made the deal, but that's kind of a fun instance of a kid making a positional change and then having a lot of success and becoming a second team All-State guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other name stands out to you here, Kevin?
Yeah, we got a sophomore on the list, and Ryan Caffey. So that'll be. It's always fun to see the young guys on there. Happy for the seniors when they get honored, but when we go through the pitchers, there wasn't much to look forward to next year, Brian. There was only seniors. We're gonna have to follow those guys in college. Ryan, I think, is one of the better defensive catchers in the state. Had a great year at Kirkwood High School. And then Andrew Maltzby, who just committed to Lindenwood University within the past couple of weeks. Junior over at Staley. So we've got a couple of youngish guys in there that'll be fun to follow.
Absolutely. Love that. Infielders, first team, there's your boy. Saw him this year as well. He can swing the bat. Mr. Yates.
You haven't narrowed it down because those guys would all classify as my boy, and they can all swing the bat, Brian.
Fair enough. And me personally, I have not seen everybody, and this is the thing, but because I have never seen Keelan Zumwalt hit, and I take your understanding, and I understand some of the things, but as far as just a pure hitter, watching kids take at bats in high school, I've never seen anybody take better at bats than Nolan Sissom.
Nolan Sissom can put together an at bat with anybody. In fact, if we had to have one at bat to single in a guy from second base to win a ball game, or to start an inning to get a runner on base, I think I would take Nolan Sissom above anybody in Missouri high school baseball.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
That dude could take a serious at bat. Him and Kendall Hagedorn are like 1A, 1B, in my opinion, in that category.
Agreed.
But what a great career Nolan had. I believe Nolan set the all-time doubles record, single-season doubles record. So phenomenal year for Nolan. Also having a phenomenal year. And I seriously did not know which way you were going with this when you started the conversation, because Brady Yates also had an unbelievable year. And I believe he hit 14 tanks this year.
Yeah.
And lit it on fire down there at Glendale. So unbelievable careers for Sissom. And, Brady Yates has one more year to still build on his resume there. So
listen, and I saw Glendale this year. Talked with Coach Julian. They were young. They had a lot of young guys. I'm not so sure Glendale won't, with Yates there in the middle of that could be a team to watch, personally. That's what I think.
Yes, and more to come on that. They have some good young guys that are coming up in the pipeline there. So Glendale is going to be a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I think so. Wyatt Denny, another young man who's going to play football.
Awesome. Love to see the multi-sport guys, and wish he was playing baseball, but that's awesome to see that he finished it out right and getting rewarded with a big senior season.
Yeah, he's going to the big-time baseball school to play football. That's UCM.
Okay.
I love it, man. Connor McElliott, Coach McElliott's son, who retired this year. He's out with his son, a senior, first team All-State. One of the guys who does it very well, did it right. Really like Coach McElliott, and his son played some really high-level baseball.
Yeah, Connor had a great career, got to win a state championship as a sophomore, was a part of that team. So great to see him recognized as a senior. Worked really hard and was a kind of a linchpin of that team as he got older. And then first team All-State sophomore, Cameron Gillespie. This is going to be one of the names to watch. Two first-teamers so far doing this that are in the sophomore with Keelan Zumwalt and Cam Gillespie. Cam's one of the top players in the country. Special talent over at Liberty in Kansas City. So he's going to be a fun one to follow over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think Liberty's going to be just kind of retooling and heading back in there. That's going to be interesting to see. They had some young guys as well. So be interesting. Troy Fisher going to Arkansas. Peter Nixon at Rockhurst. You had Cole Chambers, another junior there. And then the seniors on the second team. Cooper Callahan was quite possibly one of the nicest young men I've met in a long time. Loved talking with him. Just a quality young man and a heck of a baseball player.
Yeah, Cooper. Wow, I'm looking at this, and again, I almost career achievement, but feel like that he could have easily been a first teamer. But I'm sure he would rather have that state championship.
Back to back.
So back to back. What a career for Cooper. Cole Chambers, super talented young man. Also doing it on the mound, heading to OU. Got one more year with Cole. And Brady Tanner also had a phenomenal run for Francis Howell and had a really nice season.
Absolutely. He's going to Indiana State, right?
Indiana State, yes.
Yeah. Adler Flynn, Jackson High School. Again, Jackson just keeps putting out talent, man. They're down there. They play well. Coach Roach has that program. And they have one of those programs, that youth program that moves those kids. They do very well with that and continue to develop quality athletes. Jonathan Piercy, the senior at Liberty. And then, honorable mention, you look at these seniors, Jackson Schultz at Hickman, Trey Paulding at Lee Summit North, Asher Schultz at Rockbridge, Troy Fisher, Liberty North. My goodness. And it was just
really strong.
Right? And Troy Fisher played all over the field. I saw him catching, saw him playing short. He was doing a lot for that squad. Outfielders, Kevin. Now here we have a couple of juniors. Ryland Sutton. I remember meeting Ryland Sutton when he was 12.
Wow.
Winter workout tour back down in Springfield with the Midwest Mavericks. His dad, Andy Sutton, was coaching that team, and there was some dudes all over that squad still there. And Dawson Eftink. But Ryland Sutton, that's a young man. He's pretty different, isn't he?
He is. He was a future gamer last year, committed to Ole Miss now, and he was one of our finalists for Player of the Year. Unreal numbers. If memory serving me correct, I think he had double-digit triples and double-digit homers. And if it wasn't double-digit, it was 9 triples. It was either 9 or 10. But, yeah, left-handed bat. He's been starting since his freshman year. Big season for Ozark. Dawson Eftink. We just talked about Adler Flynn at Jackson, and you can begin to see why, with him and Eftink and Parsons, they're well represented on this all-state team, and rightfully so.
Colton Petersmith is another kid that a lot of people don't know about, Kevin, from Rolla, the senior. He's an outstanding baseball player.
Yeah, I've been talking about him since his freshman year. I remember seeing him at the Columbia tournament as a freshman leading off for Rolla. He's heading to Nebraska. Great career for Colton Petersmith. He was a future gamer and super, super talented center fielder for Rolla High School.
And here's the first time we've seen a lot more of the underclassmen. You got Drew Grauberger from Lee Summit West, but then you look at this second team, junior, Shake Speckert, Blake Morgan, Corday Gage, who he had those 3 outfield assists in 2 games at the championship, just hosing people down. That kid can play, and I know he's a football guy.
Well, yeah, Corday is one of my favorites in recent development. He is going to focus on baseball and decided to play that in college. So, and he will get that opportunity too. But he had a monster season for CBC and a huge piece of why they advanced to the state championship game. But Corday's kind of just one of those fun guys to watch play. There's guys that can hit, there's guys that can run, there's guys that can pitch or whatnot. Corday kind of just does a little bit of everything and is high energy and he's just making plays all over the field. Fun player to watch for CBC.
I could see him moving to center next year with GT Taylor going on to Kansas.
I would imagine that's probably a good guess by you.
Thank you. Nick Long is another one from Kickapoo. Saw him play a couple times. This kid can hit and he can play.
Yes, certainly can. Wow, and this honorable mention list is very stout as well. Adam McKnight, one of the more talented players, and he's going to Missouri State to do football and baseball. Quarterback for Nixa, and one of the top power bats in the state. And then Crew Patrick is in here as an outfielder. He also plays some infield and also pitches. One of the more talented sophomores in the state, so that's going to be a fun follow. Chase Rader finished up his career at Lafayette, the great season, super talented player. And then Jake Friedman, SLU High, had a great season. I thought they were possibly the best team in the MCC, and DeSmet won the MCC, and CBC, Vianney, and Chaminade all made the Final Four. So, but SLU High had a heck of a year, and honest God, was one of the best teams in the state. So,
yeah,
congratulations to them.
Chase Rader is a kid that I think was interesting. I saw him going into his junior year. I think that young man worked very hard because, his size, he wasn't big. He was always a good baseball player, but I think he just kept working. Finally, his body, I think, caught up to his talent, and I think it showed his senior year and why he's on the honorable mention here, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely.
DH utility. This is where you see three of the best players in the state because they are do-alls, hit, pitch, play. These guys, I think Superling played in center. Where'd Van Hook play? Was he in the infield?
No, outfield.
Outfield, okay. And I don't know about Putnam.
Center field.
Center field?
They moved him to first. Putnam moved to first base. Before this year, he had been playing shortstop, but they moved him to first out of it was a smart move to help preserve his arm.
Makes sense. And so, are we wrong? We're not really wrong because I think you could put Van Hook down there. You got Class 6 Player of the Year, Tyler Putnam, and Graydon Superling tied. I think you could have put Van Hook down there just the same, Kevin.
Zach had a phenomenal year. Phenomenal year. Tyler Putnam was our Player of the Year. If you pull up their numbers, just insane. Could have won it as a hitter alone or a pitcher alone, but when you combine them, just stand out. And then Superling had a phenomenal year for Blue Springs South, and obviously state champions, so certainly deserve some recognition. And Van Hook, I didn't have him down as Player of the Year, but I'll give this to Zach Van Hook. I think he had the moment of the year. I think he had the moment of the year with the walk-off home run to win districts, down a run with 2 strikes, 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th inning, and he hit a walk-off homer. That's something he'll never forget. I would call that the moment of the year. So I think you might even take that over being Player of the Year, in my opinion.
Hey, that's a great point. I love that, Kevin. I love that.
All three of these kids take this out of it. All three of these guys are going to be a really exciting talents to watch in college/professional baseball. I think they all have real chances. A couple of them could have their name called this year. I would imagine some end up going to college, but Putnam heading to Tennessee as of right now, Graydon Suferling heading to Wake Forest, and Zach Van Hook heading to Mizzou. So these guys are super talented. Their best days of baseball are still ahead of them, which is an exciting statement to make.
Second team, Owen Hughes from Rockford, the junior, Connor Smith from Kickapoo, junior, Grady Coppinger, Liberty, senior. Honorable mention, Jensen Thomas from Rolla, Carter Scott Rockhurst, the junior, Kyle Julian, the senior, Coach Julian's son there at Glendale, going out. Honorable mention. That's cool. Names on these last two here, Kevin, that stand out to you?
Yeah, Owen Hughes, we talked about a couple weeks ago with Coach Wiggins there. Owen heading to Kentucky, super talented guy, and one of the big reasons why Rockhurst got to the Final Four. I'll tell you what, Rockhurst is going to be a team to watch next year. A lot of junior-heavy talent on that ball club. And they also have one of the best incoming freshmen. I know that sounds crazy. They have a freshman that I believe will make an impact for them next year coming in. So Rockhurst is going to be one to be reckoned with. I would expect them to be back. I saw Jensen Thomas pitch against, I believe it was Eureka in district. Jensen, I liked him a lot. Highly competitive and was 85, 88 on the mound, and talented young guy. So, and Kyle Julian there for Glendale. Glendale had a great season. It wasn't just Brady Yates. A lot of talent there, and good to see Kyle get recognized as well.
Absolutely. Folks, that's Class 5 and 6 with Mr. Kevin Moulder here. Hope you enjoyed that. And, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think. Appreciate Kevin taking his time today breaking down Class 5 and 6. And, Kevin, that's the thing. I always love looking at this. I think it's one of the first years we've seen this where it has been so – and maybe it was back a little bit, but so senior heavy. A lot of these kids we've been watching for a few years, and you don't realize it, and then all of a sudden you see the all-state team, and you're like, oh, wow, these kids are all graduating.
Yeah. The next wave coming in. But congratulations to all those guys, and great way to end your high school career getting that recognition.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed meeting a lot of these young men at the All-Star game. Some I hadn't seen from some of these high schools. And we talked to probably, I don't know, through the whole day, all those All-Star games, we probably talked to, 40 kids, Kevin, during those games, coming over and sitting down with us during the game and chatting it up. I love that part of it. I like getting to know some of these kids. In the lower classes, you got some of those kids moving on, playing college. Some of them just going to school. Some of them, there's a few of the kids we met that are going on to be their apprentices, carpenters. There's a couple of kids working up in Iowa. They'd been in Iowa for a month, come back for the All-Star game to play one last game. They're going to be electrical linemen.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. I think
well, it's
that's
cool.
fantastic.
They got to come home and do the All-Star game. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they were all-state guys, so it's pretty fantastic. I think it's just great that they're able to do that. So appreciate you taking the time, buddy. Always a pleasure.
Always, Brian. Thank you.
Folks, if you liked what you saw, please take a moment, hit the subscribe button, hit that dinger. That's what we do around here. We hit dingers and get you notifications for more episodes just like this. We thank you for watching Baseball Talk. We got some great stuff coming up. Next week, we're going to be back at the Premier Collegiate Development League. We got that live streaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning. We'll be back out with Game 7 baseball on the weekend. Monday night, our summer series continues with Missouri American Legion Baseball from Kirkwood High School. We've got Washington Post 218 visiting the Kirkwood Post 156. Should be a really good baseball game. Washington's loaded again. Kirkwood playing very well. They got some really nice talent, so they'll be duking it out. That's District 10 and District 9. So that's our summer series continuing with Missouri American Legion Baseball. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody have a great day in the Lord, and we'll see you at the ballpark.